Welcome to Interface. Today we have an mobile app developer and iOS developer from UK. He is the founder of TouchAware Limited, London, UK. Welcome, Samson Lopez.
Thank you, Rajesh.
In the global scenario, this explosion of explosive use of smartphones and other gadgets are happening. So, could you please explain what is the major trends in mobile apps development in global scenario?
If you go back in time, the explosion happened when soon after the iPhone was launched. The iOS SDK was launched a year later. So that's when a lot of developers started developing a lot of applications. So since then, apps have been developed on the iOS platform and the Android platform on a lot of categories. So the App Store is now flooded with millions of applications. So there are good quality applications as well. And the answer to your second part of the question, the current trends. So the big phase transition now is on the change to cloud. So that's a lot of movement from standalone applications to cloud-based applications. So that is one of the current trends we have.
So the technology has a lot of advancements in terms of mobile apps development. And how can we avoid major pitfalls in app development?
Mobile application development from a software engineering standpoint is not very different from any other application development, the desktop application development or development of services. So I think the question here is whether the standard engineering practices or software engineering practices are followed. So if you go through a rigorous testing development cycle, you tend to produce quality applications. Now the issue with mobile application development is a lot of inexperienced developers are developing applications which lead to insecure applications, low quality applications. So I mean, what needs to be done is to bring more processes of more review processes, more what you say, educate the developers to produce more quality applications to reduce issues. So all the security issues for standard applications also exist for mobile application as well. So it's how well you do it and what are the processes to make it secure, which is important in my point of view.
So in the app development domain, so what you do, what you passionate about. So that is the scenario. So what are the special skills and roles required in this field?
To develop an app, you need to have the domain knowledge. So say for instance, my own application I design. Over the years I've gathered a lot of knowledge on 2D vector drawing apps, and that really helped me to when I actually developed the app. So I feel that the domain knowledge is very critical in developing applications. Now there are a lot of other factors like technical skill, your knowledge of the current development platforms, whether it is iOS or whether it is Android. So you need to learn and relearn and adapt to all the new current cutting edge technology, which is like ever changing.
There is a saying like good artist borrow and a great artist steal. So this is applicable for all creative endeavors. So in the app development also it is practical. What is your comment on this?
I'm not very sure if I read it right whether I agree about borrowing and stealing, because I feel that if you want to uh, bring out a successful application, it has to be something original, something which is not already there. So I don't really feel that borrowing or stealing is the right approach there. So you need to bring in something original. So I do understand, if I may quote an analogy with say music. You initially you tend to play songs which are already there. So that's for you to actually gain the skill, but it's not going to take you anywhere. So you will have to, over time you will have to work on original ideas and original thinking. So that's my stake on it.
So in this app development domain, so what is the importance of user experience or designers and the collaboration between the designers and the developers? What is your view on that?
Okay, I am basically a iOS and Mac developer, so I'm more related to Apple development methodologies. So the philosophy of Apple is very design oriented. So design is something primary. There's a lot of emphasis on design. So in software engineering in general, design is everywhere. So the old tried and tested method of failure, the waterfall model, is not applicable anymore in today's world.
Yes.
So it is all agile, and design is in all phases. So I even believe that there's a significant amount of design in even coding. So even when you code, you actually do a lot of design. So every developer, in a sense, especially for the app development segment, needs to be some sort of a designer as well, to actually keep pace with the app development.
So how will you meet the user experience there? So what is the importance of that?
So the idea is to develop simple user interface which the users can get the task done. So for that, so user experience, UX is again very important. So that's a skill which every developer need to possess.
So you can choose from many app development platforms for your application, and they are not none of them are immune to security. So what are the major security aspects you have to consider while you go for an app development?
Well, there are two kinds of security areas in my view. So one is the platform level security, which the platform actually provides for you, say whether it is iOS or whether it is Android. Things like simple things like even locking the screen of a smartphone, the kind of encryption, all these kinds of security features are provided by the platform. So how good is that? How good is the Android platform security? How good is iOS? The second part is security related to the app itself. That's where the developer's knowledge and skill about security comes into play. So the developer needs to be aware of, say, for instance, he should not send clear text password to a service. So that's a security issue there. So it is very developer dependent, and also dependent on the software engineering practices related to security when the app is developed.
In Indian scenario also, the mobile apps goes very drastically. The applications are coming up, and so what is the major apps development scenario happening in Indian market in terms of Indian language mobile apps?
So I am primarily based in the UK, and my view as of now is more on the European market, because I am currently doing translation of my app in various European languages. But my feeling is that it's pretty much the same for any language in any region. So you have different elements. You can it's basically internationalization of an app. So it involves in language related translation. It involves in the way you treat currency. So in certain countries like Spain, you have a comma instead of a decimal point. So to translate an app in an Indian language, I think it's pretty much easy, where it's just strings involved. But when you consider things like voice input, like in iOS applications you have Siri, and you have for Google, for Android applications you have different method of voice input. That's where the challenge lies for the Indian scenario. So you need voice recognition systems for Indian languages. So probably that's one area where you have more input on that or knowledge about that. So it's a research and development area as of now, I guess, till we actually have more ways to process Indian languages.
Yeah, in India, the internet and mobile basis grows, and we have 22 official languages here.
Okay.
So I think this is a upcoming challenge we have to take up. So my next question is based on the cross-platform tools that is growing up nowadays. So what are the challenges involved in taking up this cross-platform tools, because we have iPhones, we have BlackBerry, we have Androids, and we have Windows mobiles and Symbians, etc. So what is your view on that?
If you look at the market share of all these platforms which you have mentioned, Android, iOS, BlackBerry and Symbian, the bulk of it is Android and iOS. So you do have a small portion of Windows mobile development and small portion of BlackBerry. So for an app developer who want to target all these spaces, irrespective of the market share, he might have to adopt for a platform like, I don't know, PhoneGap or Xamarin or something to develop. So there are a couple of platforms available, but my take on it is a large section of developers will most likely focus on the large market share bits. So it actually boils down to Android and iOS. So to use a cross-platform development framework or tool just for two platforms may or may not make sense. That depends upon the kind of application you are developing. So if your application is more user interface oriented and you are actually using backend services, it might be worthwhile to use Xamarin or PhoneGap or any other cross-platform framework or tool. But if you want to do more processing based or a bit more hardcore application which is tied to the framework, I would actually go for different development on each platform to actually leverage the capabilities of the platform, rather than sacrifice on the capabilities by combining everything. But it's a very it's very app dependent and the app domain dependent on the kind of app you are developing.
So how can my app make money, or in other ways, how will you put your app in an app store? So what is the process involved?
So once you develop an app, you generally submit it for a particular platform. Say for iOS, you submit it for review with Apple. The same must be applicable for Android. But as far as I know, the review process of Apple is on the stronger side. You generally tend to wait for a week for Apple to turn out to actually get your app on reviewed. So they have I don't know 30 or 40 list checkpoint to check various issues which can be filtered, which is sort of domain independent. Now the other part, to answer the other part of the question, how can you make money? So from what I know, about 90% of registered developers, or even 95%, don't really make any money out of apps, out of the App Store. So it's that top 5% developers who actually make money out of the App Store. So it's the question of getting there at that top 5%. So that means that your app has to be top in the category. So how can it be top in the category? It has to be high quality. It has to have certain features which are not available elsewhere. So it's a matter of focus on getting the app refined and polished to get it to that high level, so that it's top of the category to make money. So gone are the days when you can actually write a very simple app and dump it on the App Store and make money. So yeah, it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of passion, a lot of effort today.
If your customer base is very small and they will be asking email request and more feature request, so how will you handle that?
Okay, I am actually thinking of an analogy where Sir Henry Ford, he invented the automobile, the car. So if a person, those days it was horse carriages. So if you went and asked a person who's driving a horse carriage on what do you want, he'll just say a faster horse. I just want a faster horse. So he doesn't know, or he is not in a position to envision what an automobile is. So that's something which only Sir Henry Ford could do at that point in time. So my point of view is that you cannot ask the customer to decide on the features of your app, or the vision of your app, or what your app needs to be at a later point in time. That is something, that is why you are the developer, right? You can certainly you can take customer feedback to know the issues of the current application, what they think, but the vision has to come from you. So you do need to support your customers, but to grow your app, that's something which you have to think yourself.
So what are the major legal issues involved in app development in terms of IPR and patenting the apps, etc.?
I would say it is very similar to any kind of software development, software you develop. So patents and intellectual property rights have been there even before this app revolution, app explosion. So but on software patents are again very delicate, very it's a very gray area there on what you can patent, what you cannot, and how you can enforce patents. So for small time developers, the overhead of patenting is actually considerable. So in my view, you just need to be aware of not trying to copy something which is already there, in order to avoid difficulties later. So to actually do exhaustive search, a patent search for an idea, you generally have to pay a lot. It might make sense if your company is large. If it's a small company, the chances are that if your app idea or whatever feature you're trying to do, if it's not intentional, it might just be okay. So that doesn't mean that you can actually copy other people's work, which you will end up in trouble later, you know. So that's my point of view on it.
Samson Lopez, so actually you are an entrepreneur, you founder of a startup company and an app developer. So what are the challenges involved in succeeding as an independent app developer in the current scenario?
It's a very open-ended question, but I'll try to give you my best answer to it. I mean, it's a huge market now. I mean, it's like for Apple alone, in the past 5 to 6 years, the entire Apple developer community would have sold $25 billion of worth of apps, and that's growing. So it's a huge market, and I don't think that it is saturated yet. There is a lot to do. There's a lot to develop, but it is not as easy as I said before to actually make an app and upload it on the App Store and make money out of it. So now it's already there's quite a lot of apps there. So there are a lot of factors which come to play, like your domain knowledge on the app you're developing, your platform knowledge, the focus of, you know, focus and attention and detail you put into your app development. So these characteristics or these points are really, you know, they really decide on whether your app is going to be on the top 5% to actually generate some revenue. So it boils down to, you need to really write a quality app which is actually required by the current user base, and for you to generate money based on that.
So thank you very much for your valuable time and for being with us for this interface program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dalajesh. My pleasure it was. Thank you.